Sir, you're about to see something really special.
Really thought this part of my life was behind me. Frenzy disappeared with the drinking 3 years ago. Why now? This makes no sense, and I'm right on the verge of freaking out.
Back from your life,
these people can be animals.
what you burn,
Thingy's out.
some bitter things you should never
Good cheese.
learn. Wallow through the days.
Remember, cosplay's not consent.
So here's to me. Congratulations, me. Yay, me.
This would all be so much easier if I was hammered. Hammered.
Won't be there anymore. You can take away the anger, but you leave behind the pain. It's your soul I
New ventures are always scary.
feel till I'm melting
Blah, blah, blah. Something positive and uplifting.
tomorrow. But the hurt will still remain. In your soul I'll live forever till I'm melting.
Don't miss our new film, The Love Song of William H. Shaw, coming soon to a streaming service near you. Hey everyone, this is Cliff from Talking Pondo. Just wanted to give you a quick heads up about spoilers on the show. We do talk about the films in a certain amount of detail, so you may want to watch the film first and then come back if you're not a fan of spoilers. Also, every now and then there's a little bit of adult language, so we wanted to give you fair warning on that. We hope you enjoy the episode, and we really appreciate you listening. Welcome to Season 2 of Making Pondo and Talking Pondo. Talking Pondo is a podcast where Cliff and Marty give each other a film to watch and talk about them in detail. Some episodes will include a special guest. Making Pondo is a podcast where Cliff and Marty talk to people they have worked with and discuss their experiences on set. All right, we're back, Marty. Here we go.
Back. Once again,
Got another killer guest.
Yeah, it's Talking Pondo with guest. As you may have guessed by now, this is going to be the replacement format for Making Pondo as we move into the next season, because we enjoyed that one, but we kind of talked to everybody that wanted to come on the show anyway, and so now we're enjoying, bringing a guest on for the movie discussion. Especially the last few we've done, I feel like it's just
Been really good.
It's been really good, and it opens it up in a completely different way, as it would, because you bring somebody on and they have different viewpoints because they're not you.
Well, and these guys we've been bringing from Reels, these guys watch a lot of movies, and they got a lot of opinions and usually are pretty thoughtful about it. So, who do we have today?
Today, at long last, we have Big Ben Haslar from Reels of Justice.
Hey, guys.
Woo. Good to have you on the show.
Thanks for coming on,
Good
Ben.
to be here. Oh, this chair's warm. Ryan must have just left or something.
Yeah, giving away the secrets that we record them all in a row.
One right after the other. Yep. Ryan just left, door slammed. Here comes Ben. Boom, right back in there.
He didn't even finish his episode. It was so rude. He's like, Ben's here. I'm out.
We had to go catch Sonora today at 4. So
I've noticed you guys don't want to be around each other very much.
We see each other every week. It's like enough already.
So I've been asking everybody so far, is it kind of a grind, or is it fun to watch a movie every week that you probably don't want to sit through and then do a court case about it? Because I know you've been at it for a while.
Honestly, for me, it's a bit of both. I do like our show. I do like our format, and I do like how mostly the guests sort of bring films to us, so we get kind of a nice variety going that way. But it does eat into, like, I have a watch list like 300 long, and like it does eat into that. that's sort of my problem with it. It's like, there's a whole lot of stuff I'd like to watch, but I got to watch Twilight. I got to watch, or and some of these things are things I've seen before, but you have to rewatch them because you kind of want to be fresh if you're going to be talking about it. So yeah, got to watch Casper again. Cool.
I think we watch at least 2 a week, and I'm there with you. It's like, I maybe have time for maybe one more, but usually I don't. I'm not getting through the stuff that I want to watch, and instead I'm watching things that are kind of that I'm being handed, which is also kind of cool. I mean, I am getting exposed to things I haven't seen before. I hadn't seen The Changeling, so I was pretty.
Oh, you haven't?
Oh,
cool.
No, my first time viewing it, so I was pretty excited about that. And it's got fucking George C. Scott in it, and he's a killer actor, so I was pretty excited about that too.
Yeah, and he's great in that movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've been using the format of Talking Pondo to get things off of my watch list. Like, oh, I've been meaning to watch this here. Cliff, this is your movie this week, and so it you get kind of the both. You get backed up, and you get to knock things off the list at the same time.
Maybe I need to start taking the recruiting abilities and like, here's my watch list. This is you have to pick from here. Yeah, I like that.
Right? Yeah, because I mean, you don't necessarily have to. And you haven't in the past subject yourself to necessarily terrible movies. You've had things on like Silence of the Lambs and whatnot that people would argue, well, but that's supposed to be a good film. Like some people even said Cocaine Bear was a good movie. So you can have all sorts of different films on your show. They don't necessarily have to be the...
Some people who shall remain nameless.
That Cocaine Bear loss still stings, doesn't it?
Oh, of course it does. But, hey, that's what happens, right? That's the nature of the program. I just had a good time.
We'll get hot takes every now and then, but mostly, like for our show, it works best if like they're in that middling ground where it's just like, yeah, there's a bit of bad, there's a bit of good, and that kind of gives both sides something to like sink their teeth into.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so for today, we have two movies from 1980. And speaking of movies that you watched a million times and wanted to refresh yourself on, the first one was The Shining.
Yeah.
And the second one was The Changeling, a movie that I've only seen maybe 3 or 4 times throughout the years. But Cliff, you said you had never seen The Changeling before.
No, I never had. My wife, I was talking to my wife, I was like, I gotta watch this movie, it's The Changeling, and I looked it up on IMDb, and I was like, it's got a good cast, and made in '80, same year as The Shining, the other movie I'm gonna watch. And she's like, I remember that movie, I've seen that, and she goes, I haven't seen it for years, so she actually sat down and watched it with me.
And guys, there's a theme to this because you picked one, I picked one. I saw The Shining on there. I also suggested another one that Marty picked, The Changeling, which is the right choice. But I also suggested Poltergeist. My idea being the theme is these are all horror movies that are based on things that happened here in Colorado, in my home state of Colorado. So The Shining in the Stanley Hotel in Estes Park. The Changeling was based on a story about a composer who rented a mansion in Chessman Park here in Denver. It's Cheeseman Park here in Denver. They called it Chessman in the movie, even though they moved it to Seattle for some reason. And then Poltergeist, there's a Cheeseman Park here in Denver, used to be a cemetery, and they like just kind of bulldozed over it and made it a park. So that line in Poltergeist, like you moved the headstones, but you didn't move the graves, is based on that true story. So there's kind of a trilogy here, I think, of interesting movies, but we'll be talking about the 2 better ones for sure.
That's interesting because neither film is actually shot in Colorado.
No,
one in British Columbia and one in England.
And I think Poltergeist, like they set it in California, and in Changeling they set it in Seattle. I think because Changeling is a Canadian film, so it's probably easier just to like go across the border and get establishing shots rather than fly the whole crew over here.
I literally said that 20 minutes ago to Marty before we started this thing. I was like, I bet you that's because like you said, British Columbia and Seattle, Vancouver, they're so close. You just hop the border, boom, get your stuff, jump back over to the studio where it's cheap.
It was a tax credit movie, so.
Yep. All right, so which one do you guys want to talk about first?
I think we should probably do The Changeling. I feel like we're already in that mode.
Kind of into it. Okay. All right. Well, let me run down the quick synopsis. So we've got a quick synopsis on IMDb, and then I'll give you the storyline. So, after experiencing tragic personal losses, a music professor rents a Seattle mansion haunted by a slain boy. And then the storyline is: it was the perfect family vacation for composer John Russell and his family when a freak automobile accident claims the lives of his wife and daughter. Consumed by grief, John, at the request of friends, rents an old turn-of-the-century house. Mammoth in size, the house seems all the room that John needs to write music and reflect. He does not realize that he's not alone in the house. He shares it with the spirit of a child who has honed in on John's despair and uses him to uncover decades of silence and deceit. With the help of Claire Norman, the one who aided John in procuring the house, they race to find the answers and soon learn that a devious and very powerful man guards them.
And the real story is very similar to that. There was a composer for CBS. His name was Russell Hunter, and he rented. He moved here to Denver for a while. Needed a place to live to kind of compose his songs. Ended up in this mansion. He was renting it, and what he claimed is like behind a closet there was a staircase that led up to this attic where a boy had lived. And he claimed to have found like papers and stuff that showed that they like switched one for the other. However, there is no evidence really beyond his word for it. So
it's
you know,
like the it's like the Amityville Horror, right?
It's exactly like that. Yeah, it's a great movie, great story. But yeah, do you trust him? Do you not? It probably didn't happen, at least not to the level that he said.
One of my first notes on this was I feel like this movie is cashing in on the Amityville Horror kind of possessed house thing, because in 79 Amityville comes out. It's huge. It's pretty big for a horror movie. And then here comes the Changeling. But I felt like it was like, oh, yeah, haunted house movie. Let's go. Let's do it. That'll be great. We'll get a lot of money for it.
Yeah, this is a great example of one. I think it like hits all the notes.
I agree. I was, one of my other notes later on is this is a pretty good ghost story, which is kind of a lost art of horror. You don't see a lot of these sort of ghost in a house, haunted house type of movies, and especially one that doesn't have any gore, that doesn't have any blood, but there's
a mystery to it. You're kind of peeling the onion to get to like what actually is going on here.
Yeah, and it's super fucking creepy. There's parts of it that are just super creepy. I'm like, oh, that's really creepy. Well done.
What got you? Like the drowning or
when he grabs the kid's legs and drown him, I was like, wow.
It's so sudden. Yeah, that is such a swift movement.
Fucking
like, oh no.
The first time
the clown,
yeah, the first time that the fucking wheelchair actually starts moving, I was like, oh, that's well done.
Yeah,
like you kind of expect it, but they do it in a way where it's really well done.
Yeah, and the cobwebs and everything like really accentuate like that movement.
Yes,
I think
very much. I mean, obviously this is a fake house that they reproduced, but they did it in a great way so that camera moves so well through that house and gives you this sort of ghost perspective, right? Like there's just scenes where you're like, that's just ghost perspective. Like I'm looking in the eyes of the kid, or I'm pulled out of the movie to see it from a completely different perspective, which gives it a very creepy feel. It's a really well done.
Yeah, I think like you mentioned, one of the big differences between the two movies is the Changeling feels like it's more of a classic haunted house story, while The Shining's more of the modern, grosser gore effects. It's very interesting. They both came out the same year, and one seems to be kind of past leaning, and the other's kind of forward leaning.
I agree completely.
The Changeling is the first song on the Doors' L.A. Woman album, which is the last Doors album. And now that I know more about what a Changeling is, it makes sense, right? Jim Morrison was going to go to Paris, and they're going to put a fake Jim here, kind of like Paul is Dead and the Beatles, right? We're going to switch the person out,
Oh, I didn't realize that. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, kind of weird.
I'm not a big Beatles guy, but yeah, that's sort of the plot of the movie where like the kid is like, oh, we're not going to get this inheritance, and we're gonna like switch him out for like some other person. We come back 10 years later, and like no one would know. Like I wouldn't, everyone looks different than they did 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And yeah, that senator now, like he's like it's all taking place in present day. I kind of like that where he's like he probably has some vague recollection of what happened to him as a kid. Like these people kind of coming in, but he doesn't really remember it. Yeah. So this guy coming in and like sort of trashing like your dad's name and like even like your own empire and stuff. He has kind of good reason to be upset by it, even if he was like, okay, I'll just buy off. I don't know why he wears a robe over his suit though. That always like hits me every time I watch the movie.
I mean, 1980 is still the 70s, so that I think that aesthetic is still holding on a bit, in my opinion. What do I know?
Well, like it's got to be just as uncomfortable, right? Like, how does the robe make you feel? Like, oh, I'm more at home now.
There's a lot of dual nature going on in both of these films. The replacement of one kid for the other, and the Changeling, and then if you look at The Shining, just to jump ahead momentarily, we have everything from the twins to what was his name? Scatman Crothers' character's name. He has two paintings
Grady?
that are similar. Yeah, and then what were the other? There's a lot of twos. There's two mazes. There's the maze outside. There's the small miniature maze inside. I'm not sure what all the duality stuff is supposed to represent, but there's a lot of it in there. At least that's what Wikipedia was telling me earlier. I thought that was kind of neat. And
there's a lot of that in like sort of Kubrick's work where it's just like he likes to sort of just like put things in, and he doesn't like to explain it. You know, he likes he likes you to feel it, whatever he's going for.
Well, and I think that's why you get so many weird interpretations of his films, like so many varied like.
Right, like was it Reincarnation? Was it?
Yeah, we'll come back to The Shining, but there's so many interpretations of The Shining from respected film critics who disagree with each other on what's that mean, you know? And they're like, well, it means this, and the other one's like, no, it means this.
Well, yeah, but he allows you to, like, he leaves it open ended. I think on purpose.
That's good art. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Now, Cliff, this is that weird piece of information I was going to tell you about the Changeling that I hinted before we got on. The director of The Changeling is the director of Zorro the Gay Blade.
Oh my fucking God. That's amazing.
Strangely enough, that was the next movie he would make if you don't count the TV movie he made in between. And Zorro is about dual nature as well, isn't it?
True.
And both of these movies I thought took about 40 minutes to get going. So I was like, hey, what's this director that I'm having issues with here? But you would never really know that those two movies are made by the same guy.
No.
I forget the director's name, but he was quite a journeyman, different genres all over the place. So.
I mean, other than the use of a lot of like, I don't know. He used like a lot of wide shots and masters in both films. Like he doesn't tend to do a lot of close-ups, and he tends to kind of keep the camera, unless it's trying to imitate moving through the house. A lot of those shots are pretty static. So I don't know. Maybe that's part of his style, or maybe it's the DOP. The DOP was he shot the Osterman Weekend, Pat Garrett and Billy the Kid. He worked a lot with Peckinpah. He did Straw Dogs. So pretty good cameraman.
Yeah, I liked how creepy the Changeling was overall. Like I'd seen it as a kid, and I think I was too young to process that movie at maybe 7 or 8. And so seeing it again older, it was like, oh, now I see what's going on.
Yeah. I love that there's a phone
like 4
booth.
years ago, I think.
I love in the very beginning shot, there's a fucking phone booth in the middle of nowhere on a snowy road in the mountains.
Right.
Where I'm just like, it's before cell phones. Of course there'd be a cell phone, there'd be a phone booth somewhere. Somebody's going to break down and need to walk to the phone booth at some point, right?
It's a different time. And it's going to circle back like Futurama, like has like a phone booth there. And they're like, what? We have phones and booths now? I don't have to carry this cell phone around anymore. This is great.
Yeah. You asked me what I thought was creepy. I had another note here about the song that he's composing, and then he picks up that music box and it's the same song. I'm like, oh, that's really creepy and well done. Like it really starts to lend towards the psychological aspect of the movie.
Yeah, and it has like that real world explanation that they give like right away too, that allows you to have that doubt, which I think most great horror movies do, where it's like, is it real or is it psychological? Where it's like, well, you know, if it was popular enough to make a music box out of it, you probably heard it somewhere before. And he's like, well, I guess so, but yeah, I don't remember ever hearing it.
This is one of those movies where the not knowing is scarier than knowing, where the unseen makes it scarier. Like it's one of, you know, it's kind of like the old thing. I mean, hey, you know, girl shows a little bit of leg is way sexier than a girl that shows all the leg, you know.
Yeah.
But to me, this is where we talk about that older form of horror, where you know you show just enough to make it scary, but you also leave a bit unseen to let your mind play with it.
And you're
like the poundings when the guy's like, well, furnaces do this. They have their own personality. It's like, I guess. But it doesn't seem like that's what was going on at exactly 6 a.m.
Yeah, and if I find a boarded up fucking door, I'm not tearing the boards down and immediately opening the motherfucker with a hammer while the house is screaming at me and then going up the stairs. No way in hell. No.
I'm a skeptic. I would, but I still love horror movies. Yeah, I'd be screaming like, "Get out!" and I'm like, I gotta know.
It's definitely more of the older style of horror because the victims are more of the upper class people as opposed to the more modern where it becomes teenagers.
That's a good point. Yeah, even in Exorcist, she comes from a pretty wealthy family. They've got money.
And I like what you're saying about the furnace. And one of my favorite parts of it is, things get old. They make noises. They do shit. I'm like, yeah, so do people and everything like that. But it reminded me of the African Queen, what that we watched a few weeks ago for the show, where he had to kick the engine to get it going. Because machines get personalities and quirks the older they get.
Well, that's one of the things they cut out of The Shining was the boiler.
Yeah,
and in the book, the boiler is extremely important. In the movie, not so much.
Yeah, the
boiler has that life of its own. Yeah.
You've seen the miniseries?
I watched the Shining miniseries after I read the book just to see, and it's very close to the book more than
it is. Yeah,
book, but you kind of go, well, that was a fun experiment, but I can see why Kubrick changed stuff to make it more, more theatrical, more of a movie.
Yeah, and to shift to The Shining, we could go back and forth. But like that one, Stephen King had stayed in the Stanley Hotel, and he was like the only one in that hotel just before they closed for the winter. So he had that experience of just being completely alone in this isolated place. And he had a dream about a fire hose chasing his kid around the hotel. And that line for me is where like King starts getting a little unbelievable and unscary for me, like a fire hose. And like in the miniseries, they have like a CGI like fire hose with teeth, to my recollection. If you cut that stuff out and just go minimalistic, like Kubrick did, it is a bit more effective for me. Like you said, the unknown, like that's where you're like getting more into the atmosphere and you're not sure what you know and what you don't know.
I mean, for me, I think the thing that The Shining loses, that Kubrick's version loses, is the humanity of Jack Torrance. Torrance,
he's like creepy from the beginning.
He's creepy right from the fucking beginning all the way through. And, King said this book is kind of semi-autobiographical. He was going through alcoholism. He had a lot of rage towards his family that was built up inside of him along with the alcoholism, and he put it into the book. And so that stuff isn't really there in the movie. I mean, it's some of it simmers under in subtext.
Only because it's in the source material, though. I don't think that's because.
Yes.
I think that's what Kubrick wanted. He liked that idea of like that reincarnation, or maybe it's not reincarnation, but like
it was the reincarnation.
Like, you're always there. You're always like part of the hotel. Either way, like that's what he wanted. Like that's why he's creepy from the beginning, is because he was always a part of this.
Right. Well, and King begged him to cast Martin Sheen or John Hurt, somebody else who
they
was
wanted
more of an everyday man who you could watch go crazy.
Well, listen to these other people. It was Robert De Niro, Robin Williams.
Robin Williams would have been fucking great.
Harrison Ford.
Yeah, I would have watched that too.
And the backup, if Nicholson had declined, Chris Christopherson.
Interesting.
Yeah, but there was also John Voight, Michael Moriarty, and Martin Sheen in the mix too. So
yeah, those were the ones that King wanted, from what I read. He wanted Michael Moriarty, John Voight, Sheen. And I mean, you look at, I think Sheen would have been an interesting choice. He would have played that kind of more normal type of guy who slowly goes crazy.
But there's scenes you would lose. I mean, you only in the multiverse would you know what you would have gotten. But Nicholson, like at that bar talking to the guy, like that scene just gives you chills. Or just the way he stares out the window, or the way he torments Wendy. Like I don't see any of those guys doing it to that level.
Yeah. Well, and you've got, you've got Wendy is a much more meek and kind of ineffectual character in this movie than she is in the book. So there's big differences, but I mean, I wouldn't change Kubrick's version at all. Like I think what he did is singular and kind of seminal in horror and in his work. I think it's probably one of his best movies, in my opinion. It just hits so many great notes, and it leaves so much to the interpretation of the viewer that you can just have conversation after conversation about what you think it means or what the implications are. It's fucking great.
And I think George C. Scott is a. Oh, excuse me.
No, go ahead.
I think George C. Scott's like the perfect casting for the Changeling, even though some people said he's kind of more aggressive towards it. But that's kind of his character, though. He's like semi-skeptical and wary. He's like, "What do you want? What do you want me to do? What do you want from me?" It's kind of like, I know what you did last summer. What do you want from me?
He
What
feels
were
a
you
little older to like have these younger women so interested in him, and like even his wife that he was married to, like in the beginning, it's like, oh,
And I think that's his
nice,
real life.
nice you
Too.
could get it, I guess. Is it?
Yeah, I think I was watching the version on Shudder with that Joe Bob Briggs hosted, and some of the trivia was that she was in every movie that George C. Scott made after they got married.
Oh, that's nice.
But he
That's
brought
cool.
up that married couples never seem to have chemistry on screen. It's like something like once they get married in real life, they're not hot on screen anymore. What happened?
You never see Daniel Craig and Rachel Weisz together.
Very true.
But in The Shining, like I like they had that new overhead like steady cam.
Yeah.
I feel like that's kind of there in the Changeling a little bit, like where it's like sort of like you're saying the Ghost Observer, but there's like a different technology going on there in The Shining that just adds to that eerie feeling that the Changeling would have benefited from, but they probably couldn't quite accomplish that in that smaller space, given how huge that mansion is. That's kind of ironic to say.
Well, I mean, they built the mansion, so I mean, they can fly out walls and stuff like that. But I think,
true.
I mean, I think the Steadicam just offers a smoothness and an ability to, because you don't operate it with your hands on it. And I noticed several times during the Changeling, during either pan up, tilt up or tilt down, or a zoom in, where the camera just shake just a little, and you could tell like that's manual operation. That's and that's just the danger of doing it manually, and that's part of the reason that you end up doing 40 takes sometimes, is because the camera operators, you're asking them to do something pretty crazy. In The Shining, you get these, right from the beginning, you get this steady cam on a helicopter flying the fuck around, and it's smooth and it's gorgeous, and it gives you a completely different feel.
He uses a Dutch angle, but in the right way, because some people just do that like to be off kilter and weird, but he does it where it like kind of then tilts to be like right and then wrong again.
Mm-hmm. And he gets away with it. And I read that the guy who invented the Steadicam was the guy who did most of the operating of the cam in the production, and he shot with like a 16 millimeter, something super flat, so they could turn these corners and get real close to these doors and move through them and make it look like you were right there and make them smooth. That was really interesting.
And that overhead footage, they would recycle some of that into Blade Runner.
That's right. Yep. Yeah, the ending scenes of Blade Runner are some of those opening outtakes from those scenes. Yeah.
Now, I haven't read Dr. Sleep or seen it, but I'm kind of curious now. So
I saw it. It was good. I quite enjoyed it. I thought it was I thought the smartest thing.
It's not the level, but yeah, it's pretty good.
Well, yeah. I think the smartest thing they did is not try to chase making a fucking Kubrick movie. Like, don't try to imitate the style and the feel of The Shining, because you're just gonna fuck it up. Just make your own movie.
Especially because the story takes place out of the Overlook, and then they kind of get into the Overlook towards the end of it.
Right.
But they did do a good job of like recreating at least that aspect of it, like of the hotel.
True. But they didn't try to use Kubrick's tones, his lens choices, any of that stuff. They made their own movie.
Or ambiguity, like it goes. I don't remember there being ambiguity.
No, it's pretty straightforward as compared to the one that Kubrick wrote. Very true.
And both of these movies are one of them's actually about killing children, and the other one they're trying to kill kids. And it's so funny that now the Terrifier 3 comes out. What are they doing, killing kids in a horror movie? And it's like, what is the saying? Hold my beer. These other movies have been doing that forever. I mean, if you go all the way back,
to be unsettling. They're not.
Like Night of the Hunter we watched a few weeks ago, and that's totally about stalking children.
Yeah. He stalks those children over hundreds of miles trying to find them.
I could see some influence on that into The Shining as well. But anyways, do we have any more thoughts on The Changeling? We seem to have a lot to say about The Shining.
Yeah.
Bouncing back and forth.
Let's see here. What I say here. I love how they tie the name of the movie into the plot in Scott's dialogue. That's kind of an old school thing where, the name of the movie is actually used. Oh, you're the Changeling.
Yeah, and you don't know that revelation until like sort of maybe the 2/3 mark,
exactly.
Which is like, oh, that's cool.
That's why. Yeah, that's what I mean. That's why it's so great. It's like, oh, the title really has something to do with this story, and it's a kind of a pivotal plot moment. The film's got that really bleak 70s kind of film look, where it's sort of the color grading is just a little washed out, and the lenses make it look a little funky, which really lends to the creepiness of the movie. I quite like that.
Yeah, Joe Bob was calling it Oscar bait.
I can see that.
There's just one thing that really irritates me about it because I'm a plot guy. He's like in this he's trying to figure it out, like what's going on in this mansion, and this woman seems to know like everything he wants to know, like, oh, that house doesn't want people, and like he's out smoking, and like she walks away, and it's like, why aren't you following up with her a little bit? It's like, oh, you need the plot to be spaced out a bit more. I get it, but still.
No, yeah, I mean, if you were telling me the house doesn't want to be there, I'd be like, all right, lady, spill.
Well, I'm living in that house, so yeah, tell me what you know.
Spill, let's go talk. Oh, did you guys catch the cameo? The big, or the I'm Marty. I'm assuming you caught it. The guy who is helping the girl doing the seance.
Oh, it's Eric Christmas.
Uh-huh.
He's the principal in Porky's.
Yes, he is. Yes, he is. And the minute I saw him, I was like, fuck yeah, the principal from Porky's is in this movie. This is awesome.
Misties might remember him from his very bit part, I think, as a priest in the, what is it called? Codename Diamond Head episode. To pull that weird bit of trivia. Yeah, Eric Christmas.
Forget about Porky's. No, I'm the guy from Codename Diamond Head.
Yeah, what are you talking about? Yeah, that's such an odd last name, Christmas. So every time I see it pop up in the credits, I'm like, oh, here's another one that he's in.
That's great.
The guy who played the old man in the Changeling, which one? You know which one I'm talking about. The
senator. Yeah. He's been in a lot of stuff.
Yeah, his career goes all the way back to like the Vampire Bat in I think the 30s. So he's been acting for a very long
time character.
He ended up in Ghost Story after this. So. So he was working right up until the end. Ghost Story is a weird one, too. So I guess there was a bit of a ghost thing going on in the early 80s. Like you said, the Amityville picked it off, and then everybody's like, we got to get in on that. And then
it really felt like... And Kubrick, it felt like Kubrick was like, yeah, I'll do it, but I'm gonna fucking master it here.
Yeah.
You know, and
it's kind of like The Ring came around in 2000, and all of a sudden everything like sort of had that vibe to it. It
almost fucking killed that kind of... I mean, I don't remember a lot of ghost house haunted movies after The Shining. It was, I mean, you had House and a few others, but they were very, and then also slashers had taken off and taken over everything as far as
House is almost kind of funny in a way. So.
I didn't expect that bag he threw into the river was going to show back up like immediately. Like I thought, oh, that's going to have something that's going to have some, relevance, but like literally the next fucking scene, bam, here's the bag.
There's that ball.
Shit.
And that's why you start charging admission. You're like, oh, I can do this magic trick. Look, guys, we're gonna go here, we're gonna throw this ball in the lake, and then we're gonna go back to my house. It's gonna come down the stairs. People are gonna be like,
got his own prestige thing going on here. He's cloning balls.
Those come in packs. You had more than one
Blaine
ball.
Ass motherfucker. What the hell?
You think it's some scheme to make I screwed up the verbiage, but yeah, maybe they made more than one of those balls to make a profit.
Right. But it's wet. Well, yeah, I doused it under the sink before I threw it down the stairs. The April Fool's Day version of The Changeling, where it was all a joke on George C. Scott. Because see, we had to pull the prank on you because you were just too depressed about what happened.
Yeah, hilarious.
That was a part of what he accounted though in his like real experiences, that like he found a ball up in the attic. It wasn't his daughter's, but like that very evening, the ball bounced down the stairs.
Really? Okay.
According to him, yeah. Along with all those noises at exactly 6. And he also claimed like when the house was getting demolished, because now it's a high rise, he was there to visit it because he's like, this is an evil house, and that it somehow exploded when it got to his bedroom and killed the operator of the bulldozer. So again, can't be verified, but good story.
Right till the end, that house was pissed off.
For me, the movie kind of falls apart in the third act a little bit. Like it builds to this great creepy level, and then we kind of find out what's going on. And, for a while, it's just him battling the house and the spirits, and this girl's helping him. And then we just keep introducing more and more people into it. And to where I don't know, they have to keep introducing people to kind of bring the story to its culmination and finish the movie.
You don't think like him, like giving everything to the senator, like here, do what you want with it, like is trying to get him to like come to his own morality, and then the senator having to like kind of confront the kid was the right play, or?
I felt like it kept bringing people in and it sort of, for me, it let me down on the whole, like, for me, the premise was this kid, this spirit at this house, this guy, his own personal past. I would have loved to have seen some tie into his like loss of his daughter and this kid at the same time, and sort of
That's
tie
where I
that
thought it was
together.
going to go. Yeah.
I did too. I really did. And then instead we veer off to the senator, and I did like the idea of reconciling his past and saying, here, you do with this what you will, for sure. I thought that was the right play. I don't know. It just seemed like we kept adding people and adding people and adding people to the third act until finally it was over. Right? Weird.
Who else did they add beyond the senator, though? I don't.
Well, it's like, suddenly you've got like secret services everywhere, and then you've got other people. I mean, it's just like, okay, there's just people and more people. Where it was really just a tight story about him and this house and this woman that he'd helped. And this, of course, this weird creepy lady, and then the senator, right? And then suddenly it's, I don't know. It just seemed like there were a lot.
Yeah, it does get busy there. Like, hey, you trying to bribe our senator? And then he goes off and drives in the car, and the kid, I guess, just like, kills the guy in the car. Like,
there you go.
Okay.
Yeah, like why? Do we really need that? Anyway, that's the part that kind of let me down. And again, when they go into the well in the house, now they got to deal with the lady and the kid, and all the cops show up, and this and that, and I don't know.
Well, that's kind of when it starts to get going for me. I thought, like, it's
like that's the Changeling. That's the title.
Yeah,
I know what you mean. The only part I was really confused is how are they back at the senator's house at the end of the movie when they're taking him away on the stretcher? I'm like, weren't you just escaping? Oh, you were just up the street from
the senator can buy locate. You didn't know that?
That's what I thought, right? Because you see him walking in the. I'm like, wait a minute, how is he in the house? Oh, he's projecting himself to be.
Yeah, he's looking at that medallion, and it must be that he's in two places at once, because the medallion's glowing.
I think, like,
the whole thing's
spiritually, he's like,
spiritually,
right? Like, he's looking at the medallion. But George C. Scott sees him too, so that's weird. But
yeah, it is a little. It's just a little bit off. The other part of it that I kind of was, again, right at the end was, she shows up and it's like, where are you? And immediately it's like, well, I guess I'll just wander this whole house and go up to this attic that's really creepy. And it's, yeah, I know.
You know someone's in the house, though. You're gonna investigate. You're just gonna leave the noises alone. Like, someone's in the house with you.
Honestly, if I'm investigating a house that I've established probably has some sort of spiritual problems, no, I'm not going to go wandering it by myself. I'm going to wait in the living room and be like, hey, where the fuck is everybody?
You're like, hey, that La Quinta down the street's looking all right.
near a door and a window that is open, period. That's so if the door closes, I'll dive out the fucking window. Either way, I'm not going to play around and go wandering around in some crazy ass house. That's just me, I guess.
Oh, it'd be a different movie.
Well, what if you were in the Overlook? What would you do?
If I was in the Overlook, honestly, my wife has asked me several times to go and rent a hotel room there, and I won't do it. I don't like. I'm not the biggest like superstitious guy, but I also don't believe in like pushing things.
You're a little stitious.
Yeah, I'm a little stitious. It's like I'm not gonna. I don't totally believe in it, but at the same time, I'm not gonna go wandering into a graveyard, screaming, "Come get me!" Right? Like, I'm not fucking stupid. So.
Well,
what about you, Marty? What would you do if you were in both of these movies?
What would I do? Well, I always try to be like, you got to make friends with the ghost, right? Because then when it starts killing everybody else,
you want to Sixth Sense alone.
No, but then that you end up like Danny Trejo in Halloween. I was nice to you, Mikey. And it grounds you anyway. So
the real ghosts were the friends I made along the way.
I throw the ball back and be like, he just wants somebody to play with him. See,
Yeah, he's a kid. Yeah.
I probably wouldn't last long in that scenario. No, the correct thing is get out. Get out of the house. The house doesn't like people. Okay, that's enough for me.
At least George C. Scott had options. Like in the Overlook, they're kind of isolated. They do have limited options being snowed in.
That's true. They are trapped. Yeah, there's no option at all. You're absolutely right about that.
Yeah. The Shining is kind of like the follow-up to Where'd You Go, Bernadette? It's they're down at the South Pole for a long time. That sounds like the perfect situation I've been looking for.
Oh my God, that's hilarious.
Well, anyway, what did you give The Changeling on the scale of 1 to 5? Or as Rye explained to us last time, can I refer to him as Rye?
Gentleman's.
The gentleman's scale, which I got a good kick out.
For me, it is a gentleman's 8. It's which is a film that I love, has flaws that I see, but still can go back to anytime.
Mhm.
Nice. So I'm going to say, well, we do our 1 through 5, a 2.5, which would be a gentleman's 5, I guess, right? Is
Yep.
that how you do the math on that? I'm learning. I'm figuring it out. But for me, anything above 2 stars, I'm enjoying the movie. And the 3 is kind of like these are really good, and 4 and up is like the all-time classics. So it's not like
2.5 is like 50-50, right? Like
Yeah,
it's got
so it's not
just
like
as many
I'm
good
saying
things as bad.
Yeah,
Right.
it had a few slow spots. It was disengaging for me for a bit, but then once they found the well, which is like Cliff says, the part where it got too busy for him, where I was like, oh, shit's starting to happen, and then I really got more invested in it. And there's enough genuine creepy moments throughout it that keeps me coming back to it, thinking about it, and it's like, yeah, that's not 2 stars. That's got to at least be 2.5, leaning towards a 3, probably.
How many times did you see? Had you seen this, Marty? Out of
No,
curiosity.
not very many, maybe 3 or 4.
Okay.
And this is the first time I really genuinely like sat down and tried to analyze it instead of having it kind of passively on.
Gotcha. Okay. So I'm the only one who's first time viewer, and I'm kind of right in the middle of where you guys are at. I'm going to go 3.5. I think it's good. I'll probably watch it again. I think it's got a few technical flaws and a few little plot flaws that kind of keep it out of the really top. But I do think it's, for what it's doing and for the genre that it's living in, it's fucking, again, George C. Scott. It's got to be 3.5. Gentleman 7.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Nice. A little spectrum.
Yeah, a little 10 years after Patton, and he's still kicking some ass.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I started digging into his back catalog. I'm like, fuck, I gotta watch a few more George C. Scott movies. He's got some stuff in his catalog that I really need to see.
In our second
I haven't
movie
seen any
today.
of these. Patton, I need to see.
Patton's great, written by Coppola. So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's a good one.
But then most of these are movies I haven't seen and have no intention to see. Fear on Trial, I have no idea what that's about. The Crucible.
I'm like jotting things down to suggest as future Reels episodes.
I probably should have come in and just picked a movie at random, hit the shuffle on something like, I haven't seen it. Let's see what we get.
Right?
So moving into The Shining.
Yeah, it's a 4th of July movie, The Shining.
Mm-hmm. Right away, I have I have a few things about this movie that.
Well, do you want to tell us what it's about?
Oh yeah,
because I don't know.
We've been talking about it all.
Yeah, we've been. The Shining. Okay,
do a synopsis, but for ceremony.
The Shining, Stanley Kubrick film, written by Stephen King, released in 1980. A family heads to an isolated hotel for the winter, where a sinister presence influences the father into violence. At the same time, his psychic son sees horrifying forebodings from both the past and the future. Storyline. After landing a job as an off-season caretaker, Jack Torrance, an aspiring author and recovering alcoholic, drags his wife Wendy and gifted son Danny to snow-covered Colorado's secluded Overlook Hotel. However, writer's block prevents Jack from pursuing a new writing career. Everything has its time, however. First, the manager must give Jack a grand tour. Then Mr. Halloran, the facility's aging chef, chats with Danny about rare psychic gifts. The mysterious employee also warns the boy about the cavernous hotel's abandoned rooms. Room 237 especially is off limits. That's all very well, but Jack is gradually losing his mind. After all, strange occurrences and blood-chilling visions have trapped the family in a silent, gargantuan prison, hammered by endless snowstorms. And now, incessant voices inside Jack's head demand sacrifice. However, is Jack capable of murder?
Is he? Another thing as you were reading that comparison between the two films is they're both kind of semi-autobiographical. Like this, the guy is a composer who came up with the idea. This is Stephen King, who's obviously a writer.
Yep. Well, and he admits he was drinking heavily and had a lot of rage towards his family when he wrote that book. So it's semi, like you said, semi-autobiographical for sure.
Both movies feature people falling down the stairs.
That's very true. Both women. No, wait, one's a man. I'm sorry, my bad. Nope. I thought that was both women.
When I was a little kid and I saw the trailer for this, and it was just the hedge maze that freaked me out. I must have been about 6 at the time, and just the trailer was terrifying. But then about a year later, when this came onto cable at the time, I remember watching it endlessly. and still being scared by it. But I think the fact that it had a kid who was about my age in it made it tolerable to sit through for some reason.
Representation on screen.
You're not supposed to be watching this movie at that young of age, but if you do,
Yeah.
you know, you're focused on Dan.
I love this movie. It's one of my favorites, if not my favorite horror films. It's just that atmosphere is like I have not seen it replicated anywhere else.
Right.
How
tone is
closed in you feel. It dominates. Like you might think you're putting it on in the background. You're not. It will absorb you.
Yep.
Especially if you like have the like any type of the lights down or anything like that. I want to see it in the theater. Haven't had the chance to.
Oh, you haven't? I've seen it twice in the theater. It's great.
It's got to be better. I could just tell, just like based on the way that camera work feels, like oh, that's got to be amplified.
Yeah, the scene where it drops into Danny on his little 3-wheeler and he's riding around, that noise and in the theater, it's amazing. We're just, jeez, so fucking good.
Now, for years, there was a debate that the proper format ratio was full frame for this movie. But really what it came down to was Kubrick had prepared a full frame version for television because he didn't want a pan and scan. But now that we have widescreen TVs, it's okay to watch a 1.85 of The Shining at home.
So he shot
over now. Yeah.
So he shot open matte, but he made sure to keep all the the lights and the microphones out of that open matte so that you can show that on TV, but then crop it correctly for one. Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah, I guess Full Metal Jacket's the same way, from what I heard. Yeah,
I like that. He's thinking ahead.
Mm-hmm.
He's a very thoughtful filmmaker, Kubrick. I mean, I don't know that he's elucidated every reason he's made for making shots, but I know. Like,
if anything, he does it. I think he likes to keep his.
Well, but I think if you could pin him down and say, why did you do that? He'd tell you why. You know what I mean? It's just like he and it might even be like you said, where he's just like, I did it to be ambiguous. I did it purposely for that. Like,
why my reason? What did you think? That sort
of. I did that for you. What did you think? You know, I used to know a guy who was a pretty well-known painter, and I asked him, he had hung a new painting up, and I said, what is it? And he goes, well, what the hell do you think it is?
Which a lot of artists like that irritates me. Like say something.
It irritated me too because I was like, I don't fucking know.
You painted it,
right?
I was hoping you did know because I don't know either.
It's a Rorschach test.
if it's interpretive art, especially like if it's not something where it's like, oh, still life or this or that, like give me a clue, something. At least.
But if you're a level. At Kubrick's level, like that's a whole different thing because he is someone who's able to do ambiguity well because he does he does say things. He just like leaves what he doesn't say like sort of at the edges, like almost at the beginning and the end of his pictures for you to sort of then go outwards and try and make sense of.
No, I completely agree with that. Yep.
Like he wouldn't say, what's The Shining about? Well, you know, he could give you an answer about what The Shining's about rather than just being completely ambiguous. Like someone like Ridley Scott might, you know?
But again, I think there would be certain points where you would go, why did you do that? And he'd go, I did it just because I wanted to do it.
There's a feeling there that,
and I'm not going to describe it, but what did it do for you? You know? The only things I don't like about this film are the opening credits. I don't like the credit scroll. I don't think it fits with the movie.
Feels so dated.
It's just weird, and the way they don't stop, they just roll through constantly. I don't like it.
And the font that they chose, like they could not have chosen like a more 80s looking font.
That weird blue color, it's just not. It's not good. I didn't like it.
You don't care for the
what I don't like about it is kind of that stuff behind the scenes, like him apparently like torturing Shelley Duvall. I don't care for that sort of thing.
I don't either.
You need to enable an actor to have the tools that they need from the script, and then they can give you the performance you want. Don't like try and wring it out of them like that.
Well, and it feels like I feel like I'm not a huge fan of Shelley Duvall's work. I think she's very limited in her range and stuff. And I feel like, but she's got a very unique face. She's a face, right? And I feel like he cast her for a face and then kind of, because from what I read, they were pulling lines away from her, and she's arguing with him on set about lines and about reads and all this stuff constantly. And he's, apparently there's 60 or 70 odd takes of her backing up those stairs at minimum. Some claim 120
His
with that
record
bat,
holder.
and she's. Yeah, yeah. I mean, some people refute that record. Some people say it, but there's no doubt that there were a shitload of shots done, and Kubrick definitely harassed her on that set.
Well, and later on in life,
that's what he needed to get the performance out of it.
She went on record later on in life saying that no, we had a good relationship. It was tense, and we'd get in each other's face, but I totally respected the craft and everything, and she loved the fact that it came out the way it did, and she still has it all memorized too all these years later. I think she said when Kubrick makes you do that many takes, you commit it.
You can't back up the stairs 120 times and not know your lines for the rest of your life.
It reminds me of like Billy Wilder. There's a famous I can't remember which movie it is, but he made Marilyn Monroe lean into a shot and knock on a door something like 86 fucking times.
Oh, that's right.
There's a movie about it. Yeah, she stormed off the set over it several times. It took them 3 days to shoot it.
Those are low numbers compared to Fincher, I hear.
Right. And then some directors work that way. And then there's the opposite where you've got Clint Eastwood who's like, you get 2 takes and then you're wasting everybody's fucking time and we're moving on. It's like, surely there's a happy medium here, guys.
James Cameron, maybe, I don't know.
where the artist is happy, the actor's happy, the director's happy,
the book didn't land exactly like right in frame, but just to the corner. Like I had to do that 100 times to get it there.
Jesus, I can't imagine that shit.
I mean, usually if you don't, I think anyway, if you don't get it by the take 5 or something, then it's in there.
Maybe block a different shot. Like don't keep going.
If you're shooting 6 or if I'm up to 6 or 7 takes, I'm gonna stop and I'm gonna pull in keys and the actors and go, what the fuck is wrong? What are we doing wrong?
What are we missing? Yeah.
Troubleshoot the scene. Let's go. I'm not gonna waste a half a day or a full day or 2 days, 80 takes,
but
and a shitload of money to get it.
We didn't.
But of course, I'm not Kubrick.
Yeah,
I'm not Kubrick. Yeah.
They had 14.
You guys have made films though. Like, have you had a shot you're just unhappy with? Like, I see it in my head and it's just not happening.
Sure.
What do you do with that? Do you just have to live with it, or do you just try and reblock it?
You live with it.
You try to do the best you can with.
Yeah, you try to troubleshoot it and do the best you can, but there comes a point where, like Marty's come to me and said, we're out of time. You guys shoot it. Like, we can't spend any more time on this. You have to.
And now when you watch your movie, are you bugged every time still? Like, man.
Sometimes, yeah. But over time, we've gotten better and better about mitigating those to where they're fewer and fewer, right? Like the first movie has way more of them than the last movie does. Way more. The last movie, I'm very happy with most of what we shot because I've figured out how to make sure, Marty and I have figured out how to make sure that doesn't happen to us too often.
And you want to you want it to serve the movie too, so you can't just throw anything in there. You still have to find something that fits, even if it's not the original intention. But that's why planning is your best friend. The more time before you get on set, the better, I think, because if you get on set and then you're trying to figure it out, which is inevitable sometimes, especially when you don't have a lot of time or money, that's where you start, like you're saying, half a day can disappear on one shot. But thankfully, we've never had anything quite like that happen. Just a few shots here and there, or more snafus of somebody was sick one day and you have to work around them.
Work around it. Yep. I know people, like I said, like Shelley Duvall, but she's just, for me, I would have liked to have seen somebody else cast in the movie.
She is annoying.
And very annoying.
And she's supposed to be, at least from Jack's perspective.
True. She definitely is the best performance she can. Yep.
Yeah, I just think that maybe he should go to a doctor. It's just like, oh, gosh, this woman.
Yeah, it would have been a different movie with Jessica Lange, definitely. Yeah.
Sure, absolutely. I mean, that story she tells the doctor where she's like, well, he was drinking and he grabbed his arm like you do and just dislocated it, but he stopped drinking for 5 months, so everything's fine. I'm just like, oh God.
But that's still such a convincing, like she's so codependent.
Yeah, she's telling herself that. Yeah.
Also,
this is 80, where like this idea of calling out your abuser and stuff in a relationship, that shit doesn't.
We haven't gotten there yet. Yeah.
No. No, it's not like today where a woman says that and everybody's like, okay, what kind of help do you need and how do we
And divorce the bastard or whatever.
Yeah, yeah. Now back then it was shit. Even being divorced. I mean, this is what 5 years after women were allowed to have credit ratings and sign loans.
Yeah.
And also, when Wendy sees the magical mystery tour, as I call it, at the end of the movie, that's pretty convincing too. Her freak out when she starts seeing all the ghosts and the Texas Chainsaw Massacre family skeletons all spread out, and the I'm the Walrus sequence where I'm like, hey, furry rights, man, why is that scary? But still, it is a pretty effective sequence.
See, to me, that's a logical flaw for me in the movie. Like because she goes through the entire thing not seeing any of this
and
stuff.
now she's seeing it, right?
And now suddenly,
because it's getting to her at some point. Like Danny is like he sees it from even outside of the hotel, right? Because he's got The Shining, whereas and Jack is a part of the hotel, so he like kind of gets it.
Right, exactly.
But the hotel like is encompassing in on people. She's a complete outsider. Like like Jack and Danny have different levels of being a part of the hotel. And now, like at the end, we're like aware, like, yeah, it's the hotel. Because before then, there's a lot of doubt going on, which is what makes the film great. Like, is Jack drinking? Is it psychological? You don't completely know up until that moment where she starts saying things.
I guess it seemed a little ambiguous, and a little bit of a weird, because again, it's not like that in the book. That's Kubrick's. That's just Kubrick's.
So is that why King didn't like it? Is elements like that?
Yeah,
I also thought that King was barely in his early 30s and he'd only written like 3 books. He didn't know what a bad adaptation of one of his movies was yet.
Well, I mean,
out of all King's adaptations, come on, most of them are bad. Like this is like one of the ones that really shine, for lack of a better word.
The closest adaptation you're going to get for a King movie is Stand By Me, Shawshank Redemption,
Green Mile.
Green Mile. Those are the 3. Those are the 3 where somebody actually trusted his literature and just put it right on the good call there. Yeah, 1408. But early on, people were like, well, we need to let the director adapt the work.
Yeah.
And I think what happened is people started realizing if you adapt King's work, you lose a bit of what makes King's work special. And just
say a fire hose is like chasing someone through a hotel. Like there's very limited ways you can visualize that and have it convincing.
Very true. That's hilarious. Oh my God, that's funny.
Carrie does a pretty good job. The original Carrie captures the book pretty good. But it is
sure. Yeah, maybe I'm just thinking of like,
but no, you're right. I'm
and Dreamcatcher.
There's tons of Children of the Corns out there and the Manglers and
Cujo. You've got Silver Bullet's pretty good
Christine.
Too. Yeah, Christine. Yeah, there's some
they
few
always
that
have to change stuff. Yeah,
they do change stuff. Yep, they always seem to change elements or this or that or characters. And I think I read that's another problem King had was the fact that in the books, Torrance and Jack and Danny are very close, and he prefers his dad to his mom. And in fact, his mom is kind of jealous over their close relationship. But it's spun differently in the movie. Book.
Yeah,
right. It's completely different. Where Jack in the movie doesn't really seem to give 2 shits about his kid. And in fact, or his wife, yeah. And he's so mocking of his wife. It's just it's like, oh. But there's that one scene where Danny goes to get his fire truck. And he thinks his dad is asleep, and then of course Jack's just sitting there staring out the fucking window like the madman he is, and hey, come in here. I'd never hurt you. That is a creepy ass. That is a very, very scary scene, especially if you're a little kid watching that. You're like, oh, what is wrong?
And he's mirroring the forever and ever, and it's like that's what I just heard the Jordan say.
I just got that this time. I'm surprised it like took me so many watches where he says forever and ever. It's like that's what the girls say. How did I miss that the first couple of times?
There's that duality again.
Yeah. Yeah, there's so many of them, I couldn't remember them all. The current Guinness Book World Record is 148 takes for the scene where Danny and Dick Halloran discuss the ability to shine.
So, for the most takes of any scene, this movie has it?
And of any production ever made, of any film ever made.
Wow.
This is 148 takes. Is the most takes on a scene ever.
And it was not even the one I thought it would be. It was of those two talking about how to shine.
Yeah, the Jack fending off Jack with the baseball bat. That's 127.
127. Yeah.
That's surprising because like that scene, while it is great and they nail it, it doesn't seem like there's that much like that you'd want to vary. Whereas, like, you know, the action, like the bat, like there's movement, you're going up the stairs. Like those two are just sitting on a counter. Like, how did you screw that up? Unless the actors did.
Well, I read that when they were doing again that scene where Danny's riding the big wheel through the the hotel.
Yeah, that one I get.
That Kubrick actually installed a speedometer on the cart that they were pushing behind Danny, so that he could know exactly how fast Danny was going and how fast the cart needed to go to get so they could redo the scene over and over again and match the cuts.
Yeah,
I mean, that's obsessive behavior. That's really
that I get though. Like
holy
that's
crap.
what makes that scene so good, because the cart stays like right there, fixed
Right
in your
there,
center
perfectly.
view as he goes
Yep.
around,
Exactly.
and the sound like a carpet, hardwood floor, carpet, hardwood floor. You can't. If
so good.
Yeah, Joe Turkel, Lloyd, the bartender, who also I also share the same birthday with, not the same year, and I also love his performance as the beatnik milkman character in the MST classic Tormented. But we also know Joe Turkel from Blade Runner and other movies. He stated that they rehearsed the bar scene for 6 weeks, and the shoot day lasted from 9 a.m. until 10:30 p.m.
Good Lord.
Wow.
He said it was one of his favorite movies, scenes in the movie. So yeah, they had a lot of time to make this film. I also enjoy this bit of trivia. Jack's typewriter pages are in different languages for different countries.
And
And
different
they
phrases.
translate to different phrases. Like the German translates to "never put off till tomorrow what may be done today." The Italian is "the morning has gold in its mouth." And Spanish is "no matter how early you get up, you can't make the sun rise any sooner." And now
just like have all the staff like just type these pages all day. Like we need a whole box of them, guys. Just
the art department job, yeah.
It must have sucked to be a PA sitting there typing those fucking because it's like not only did you have to type them out, but they're formatted to like it looks like a book is being written. So you have to work on your formatting, paragraphs. All that must have been.
Well, they do vary. Like I could kind of tell like maybe different people did them, because like some people did have different ideas, like how to like put a stanza in here or something.
Pyramid and stuff. Yeah, I'd like to have one of those pages. That'd be a fun prop.
I think that if this book had been if King had written this book now, I think quite possibly he would have had her finish Jack off when he falls down the stairs and she knocks him out. Just go down there and bash his friggin' brains in. Movie over, you're good to go. And then it's just her and the kid trying to get out of the hotel, right?
That would be a different take.
In today's movies, they wouldn't have somebody typing out the other pages. It would just be like blank, and then they just CG in the
CGI page,
the whole thing. But back then, yeah. What else did I have to say here? I thought this was kind of bizarre, but I guess it makes sense. Why is Wendy running around with a knife in her hand after she locks up Jack? Maybe she thinks there's somebody else in the hotel, because she's flailing, running around with that knife. And I'm like, you locked him up. You can put the knife by your side right now.
Oh, he could get out. She doesn't. I mean,
that's true.
You don't know, like he can't throw his body weight against it or something and knock it loose.
I figured she was just quite frazzled at that point anyway. And by the way,
I still am holding that knife. Yeah. Weird. I'll put it down now.
Unlike having been Curtis, she keeps the knife.
Having been locked in a walk-in before as a prank at work at a kitchens I've worked at, you're not getting out of that. There's that, because once they run the pin through the lock, I mean, you can push that fucking button all that that release, interior emergency release.
Cliff, you were only in there for 5 seconds. Let it go, man.
I was in there for longer than that, and you know it.
They find you just like eating like the frozen waffle, just like shivering. I had to go into fight or flight mode.
Why are all the whipped cream canisters flat? I had to have something to do while I was in here. That's hilarious. Let's see. So one of the things I was going to say here is Diane Johnson, who was the other writer that wrote this with Kubrick, she basically said that this book is not a part of great literature.
Oh, yeah.
And basically, which made it easier to tear it apart and destroy it so that they could create the masterpiece that they created, which I found to be such a fucking pretentious thing to say. Or I was just like, are you fucking kidding? You're shitting all over the guy who came up with the idea?
Well,
you didn't come up with it. You were just brought in to fucking rewrite it.
they were probably still like, "Oh, this book's only a couple years old, and it's derivative of the film Burnt Offerings anyway." So
Imagine Peter Jackson saying that about Lord of the Rings or something.
Right. That's exactly. Well, fuck. I mean, it's not high art, but I mean, I made it that. Fuck off.
Anything good about it came from me.
Yeah, exactly.
I think more people today know the "Here's Johnny" reference from this movie than from Johnny Carson on the Tonight Show, which is it's crazy how time passes like that. And by the last 20 minutes of this movie, it's kind of turns into a full-on slasher. It starts to function like one too.
The chase. Yeah. Yep.
But I think the moral of the movie is always practice the maze. There's not even a warning that, hey, maybe you might not want to go in here if it's snowing. There's no signs or anything. But what if Jack have actually stopped and read the sign anyway? Probably not.
Just make all right turns or all left turns. Just like be consistent, and you'll find your way out.
Yeah, I mean, you would think some spirit would show up to help him. Hey,
yeah,
are you missing the kid? He's back there. Take a right.
No, they helped him once. They already helped him once. They're like, you're on your own, dude.
Yeah, they
got you out of the freezer.
They did let him out of the freezer. That's true.
Use the axe, chop some hedges. But of course, the hedges were alive in the book, so.
That's another good point. Up until that point, there's no physical manifestation other than on Jack from that hotel. Like, Danny sees spirits. Jack, gets a drink and has these interactions. But
there's the woman in 237.
True, but that's again Jack. Danny just sees the manifestation and runs. Right? Jack interacts with her. Right? So Jack's having these interactions, but the only actual manifestation that affects both the kid and the wife is this pen being pulled. That's the only real sort of thing in the movie that's actually physically done, in my opinion.
Yeah, because everything else is just like pictures in a photo book.
It's ghosts.
Yeah.
It's past. Yeah, it's this. It's past. It's old movies that are still playing in different rooms. It's not real.
So the whole Earth is haunted by that respect, then, because something has died in every corner of the world by now, but just some things still want to hold
Not
on.
Where I live. Not where I live. No, never happened.
It's like battling of the ghost where it's like, well, I was killed here 300 years before you were, so you got to go, new ghost. Now we're talking about Casper again, I guess. So that was pretty much all the thoughts I have on it. I've always enjoyed it. I've always enjoyed this movie. Yeah,
it's classic for a reason. I mean, and that I was kind of thinking when we took this movie on, I was like, Jesus, are we going to have anything new to say? Because everybody's talked about.
I could talk about the furry
forever.
rights. That's something new.
Furry rights is very true. That's a new take.
It was like, ooh, that was scary back then. Now it's just a guy wearing a walrus costume.
One thing that bugs me, maybe you guys have saw this in your research, but the room Stephen King stayed in was room 217, not room 237. I don't know why they changed it. Like, why was that so important?
The hotel asked them to create a fake room because they were worried that people would want to stay primarily in that room. But of course, people know it's 217 and not 237, and it's still the most requested room by the hotel.
Yeah,
of course.
Which is so silly.
I mean, watching.
Oh,
go ahead, Cliff. Go ahead.
I was just going to ask Ben, have you seen that Room 237 kind of documentary about all about all the weird stuff that's kind of tied into the symbology? All the symbology of it. It's supposed to be really, 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 really good. I think I might watch it after this if I can find a copy of it.
You'll be like, dang, if only I'd have so many more things to say. If only I watched it first. That's it. We'll call Ben up. We're re-recording. get on in an hour.
Shining part two.
I mean, I've never actually seen any ghosts per se, but I feel like I've felt presences or energy. I don't really know what to believe, but I feel like there's something going on sometimes because the coincidences are just line up too much. But who knows the mysteries of the human brain? Have either of you ever had any paranormal touches?
I used to be a ghost investigator, like you'd see Ghost Hunters on the Sci-Fi Channel. I used to do that.
No way.
Yeah, in Oklahoma.
Where in Oklahoma, where I live?
Yeah.
Where?
I lived in Oklahoma City for like about 2 years.
Wow. So did I. So do I. Where in Oklahoma City?
Where did I live or where did I see stuff?
Yeah,
Where did I investigate?
Both. I'm extremely curious now. Both.
I lived kind of on the south side of that interstate around Sheridan, I think it was, and yeah, kind of off by that airport.
Gotcha.
I worked at Tinker Air Force Base for a while.
Okay.
And I did community theater at a place called the Stage Door, which is where I met the ghost hunting crew.
Awesome.
I think that was in Norman.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I got to investigate like a haunted sanatorium in Arkansas. That was a lot of fun. We've investigated, of course, the Stage Door. People have said it was haunted. Like every old school turned theater is haunted, of course. By rules.
Did you go to Tulsa at all? Because there's some haunted stuff there from the race massacres and stuff out like haunted theaters and shit up there that are.
No, I've never set foot in Tulsa. I'd like to,
okay.
but no, never had a chance to.
Well,
yeah, there was like for about 2 years. But I've mostly been a Colorado guy for most of my life, which is why I picked the Colorado themed horror movies. But anyway, I'm a skeptic. I'm not really a believer in anything. I'm not a religious person. I have seen things I can't exactly explain, but I'm sure an explanation exists. It's like just because I can't come up with it doesn't mean it's not there. But yeah, I was the guy that like the organizers liked because I could like debunk stuff. I'd like, the air conditioner, the electrical boxes on the other side, all that sort of thing. Give them sort of credence, as an organization. But the people in these houses just hated me for that reason because they wanted to believe that their houses were haunted.
Of course, yeah. I think I've seen maybe one thing that was just unexplainable in my entire life. My wife and we lived in this house and we had a cat, and the cat, we taught the cat to fetch. And the cat loved to fetch and do it for hours. And so we had these foam balls that we would just throw in our living room connected to our dining room, connected to our kitchen in one long throw, almost like a shotgun shack. And so I would just sit on the couch with my wife and we would, play with the cat and throw this ball into the kitchen, and he'd run and go get it and bring it back. And this one night we were doing it, I threw the ball and he just looked at it and he didn't go get it. And about 5 seconds later, it came back, thrown back out of the kitchen.
Ooh.
And this was like
comes bouncing down the stairs.
My wife's like, "Did you just fucking see that?" And it's a single story. I was like, "Yeah, I did. What the hell?" And she's like, "I'm telling you, there's something here. There's something here." I'm like, well, surely there's some. Maybe it just hit something and bounced back. But it was like a long pause. It wasn't like, it wasn't
hear
like
it like dunk 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 dunk.
No, exactly. I didn't hear it hit a wall and bounce back. And it was like a light ball. You would have had to have thrown it. It wouldn't have had the physics to bounce. It wasn't like rubber where it was going to give that real good bounce back and come back. Anyways, that's the only thing I've ever seen. But it was like,
you were like, real nice house. Too bad I have to move.
Yeah. Well, and we found out later the landlord was like, yeah, there's a guy here and he lived here and he died in that garage, which is this old garage that we didn't use because it was creepy as hell. And we're like, okay, that makes sense. And we moved soon after.
You whippersnappers, get your ball out of my garage.
That's right. So what do you guys give The Shining?
Well, I'm gonna give it a 4 out of 5.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's no reason why I shouldn't give it a 4.5 or a 5. I think I've just seen it so many times that its effectiveness does wear a little on me, but I still absolutely love it. Mm-hmm. And I would like to see it in the theater one day too. I've never had that option.
I don't know, Marty. The fact that you can like watch it so many times and still talk for like about an hour about it, doesn't that say something?
Yeah, that's true too. But see, it's the funny thing is like, it'll be my rating this week, but maybe like in 2 months from now, when we do, or however it is, when we do the season finale and we reflect on the movies, I might be like, I've been thinking about it even more, and maybe
give it a what was I thinking?
4.5 or a 5, because I've already felt that way about a few of the movies that we've talked about already on this show, where it's like, I think I was a little too harsh. Like it didn't hit me right that week, but now that I've lived with it and I keep thinking about it, and it grows on you, some movies. So
I think it's a real thing that you can catch a good movie in a bad mindset and just think it's terrible, and then watch it later and you're like, fuck, what was I thinking? That's actually a pretty good movie.
Just in the wrong moment. Yeah.
Ben, what about you?
Well, I have nitpicks about this movie, and if I have nitpicks, I typically would give it a gentleman's 9 or a 4.5.
Mhm.
But this is one I'm willing to round up to a perfect horror movie because it just I'm stuck in it every time I watch it. It's like it stays with me the whole next day. If it does that, then I'm willing to round. So yeah, I'm a gentleman's 10 or a 5.
Oh yeah.
I have problems with Kubrick. I have problems with his pacing, and in general the way he worked with people, like we talked about earlier. But putting those aside and just judging the film based on its merits, which I try to do. I try not to let my nostalgia, like, I'm not going to watch The Goonies and be like 5 stars. I was 12 when I saw it. This is amazing. I'm going to go 4.5. Gentleman's 9.
Nice.
There's just enough, just the credits and a little bit of Duvall brings me out of it. But it's such a fantastic movie, so well fucking made.
Yeah.
It's probably, in my opinion, one of Kubrick's best movies. 2001 moves too slow for me. Barry Lyndon's pretty good. He did some noir that was okay, but this one just seems to have brought all his powers to bear on it, and it was fantastic.
Marty, what's with you wading down the curve here on both films?
It is kind of weird, huh? But I still put it in my Stone Cold classic era. Anything 4 and up is you can't really.
Yeah, we don't give a lot of 4s and 5s out on this show. So you get a 4 and a 5 on this show. It's
a 4 or 5 is really a perfect rating.
It's pretty good. It means that not only is it rewatchable, it's something that needs to probably like film archive or go down in history. That type of thing.
That's true.
Yeah.
If I'm just saying
this is film archive worthyable. At least I think.
Fuck yeah, it is. Of course, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, again, it's one of those movies where you're like, you want to watch a good horror movie, you want to watch something that you'll think about, you want to watch something kind of scary, fucking watch The Shining.
Oh yeah.
And I'll say this: on the big screen, it has a much bigger impact. It's like watching The Godfather on the big screen. If you've never seen The Godfather on the big screen, go watch it on the big screen.
One either.
You'll sit there watching, going, every fucking frame is perfect. even Sonny getting the fake beating in the you don't care because it's so perfectly framed and so beautifully shot and so well, everything's so perfectly lit that you're just like, it's fucking perfect. And you lose that at the 50 inch or the 60 inch 80 inch TV level. You just lose it. It's not the same. I've got real lucky. There's a movie theater here called Flicks Brew House, and they run what they call Flicks Picks free. And I love the place, so I'm gonna give them a free plug. But they run old movies constantly. So I've seen Shining. I just saw Lawrence of Arabia last month there. 4.5 hours in seat to watch that movie, and it was spectacular. So.
Nice.
If you have a Flicks, go to Flicks. It's fantastic. Well, Ben, thanks so much for coming on, man. We appreciate you.
Yeah, this was a lot of fun. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, good conversation. Always like talking to you guys because, like I said at the beginning, you guys are you have good opinions and you're knowledgeable about what you're talking about. So it's always leads to a good conversation.
Yeah. So
thanks, I appreciate that.
Yeah, I'm glad you came on. Is there anything you want to plug?
Well, it's been mentioned a few times, but I'm a co-host on a podcast called Reels of Justice. Both Cliff and Marty have been on a few times, so you can any listeners to this show can come over and check those out at the very least. You guys have done like Star Wars versus The Empire Strikes Back. You've done Twilight together, and Marty, you've done a handful on your own, Cocaine Bear. And
you have questionable movies, yeah.
But yeah, it's sort of a fun show where we kind of have a different view on how to compare movies. We have all the positive arguments on one side of the court and all the negative on the other side of the court. So then you can kind of listen to that as a juror and sort of see like which side of the scale you think like has the most weight to it. But overall, we're just giving our opinions. We're just like trying to make like the fact that it's a courtroom and a jury like dividing the arguments, I think makes a little bit more of an interesting view on the movie discussion.
Agreed. I love the premise. It's great. And, it's always fun to hear somebody come in and passionately defend what they know is a bad movie.
Yeah.
That's always just a lot of fun.
Even the guests have to. It's the other way too. It's like most of our movies are in that 50-50 range. So at some point, if you're like saying, but no, you have to defend like this movie is 100% great or it's 100% terrible, like you're going to be saying things you don't necessarily agree with.
Yeah. Got to play the part. Or as some people will say anything to win. It's for some of the things I enjoy
anything
about
to
it.
win, Rob.
Like, I didn't
Well,
really care about the
it is not
movie,
about saying
but-
something that's wrong, though. You know, it is about like,
true,
okay,
right.
how can I defend around that great point that the prosecution just made?
Yeah, it's fun. I look forward to it every week. It's the first podcast I listen to on Thursdays. So, yeah. And
thank you.
Yeah, keep
it's a good
going,
one.
guys.
Yep.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
Cliff,
please.
strap in for Eclipse because
Oh.
they had fun with that one. Yeah.
Okay, good. I felt like we did a really good job tearing Twilight a new one, and honestly, I felt like the defense did a really good job defending it.
Mhm.
Especially because I'm pretty sure the defense doesn't like that movie, but they really leaned into finding it, at least finding reasons why it was a good movie and defending it. So
It's the base.
I don't want to give anything away, but after we recorded Eclipse, that defender, Dylan Schlender, is like, that's it. We have to do all of them now.
Oh, no.
I knew it.
This is the way the conversation's going.
I knew it. That's great.
Maybe we'll have you guys back to do like the last one, the finale.
Sure. Yeah, we would love to come back on. Yeah. Yeah, we could definitely prosecute or defend whatever you guys would like. We'd love being on the show. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's a blast.
All right, guys. Well, I think that wraps us up.
Yeah, I'll do it for another week.
All right, guys. Dylan,
All right.
next week. We'll see ya.
Right on.
Later.
Support the show on Buzzsprout for only $3 a month. Give us a 5-star review on Spotify or the platform of your choice. And be sure to like and subscribe to our YouTube page.